Guys, thank you so much for joining me in another video. So as you can tell based on the title, today we are talking about the top 10 Celine handbags of all time. There are certain bags that I feel are my favorite. I'm not putting on this list simply because maybe it was due to timing, maybe it was just due to the market, but I tried to pick bags that I think are representative of the brand's history, or certain creative directors' legacies. There are more bags I probably could have put on this list that I personally like. Honestly, I've been thinking about doing a video on under the radar Celine handbags that nobody talks about, so maybe that could be an interesting video. Just for the purpose of this, I would say these are largely the most popular, or had like the greatest impact on the brand, or just were very commercially successful. And I've also done a video on the whole history side, that brand's history, the different changes in creative directors, the different business models and changes within the business. So if you want to see that video, I'll link it in the description box below. But today we're just talking about the top 10 handbags that I think help really define the brand. We're first going to start off with what I like to call the horse carriage bag, but this is actually called the Sulky. It's from the Sulky line. This was a bag that was popular in the 60s, 70s, when the brand shifted from just doing children's shoes to women's sportswear, selling separates and making it sort of this like luxury Parisian everyday wear.
You're probably wondering why the term sulky. This from Encyclopedia Britannica. Sulky, originally a light, open one-horse, four-wheeled vehicle with a single seat for only one person fixed on its shafts. The Sulky was then adapted to using two wheels, and today the Sulky is primarily used in harness racing.
When I just look at the silhouette, this is a style of bag that we would see creative directors with each change reinterpret in different ways. But this specific style, the Sulky with the horse carriage, is actually also a design under Phoebe Philo. She reimagined this bag in one of her later collections. Instead of it being that box shiny leather, it's got more of a pattern, which is a little bit different. And Eddie Slimane, when he joined the brand, he also brought it back in very classic color combinations. This is a bag that you can find if you look on the Japanese eBay markets. You can definitely find this bag for a steal. I definitely have mine. I got a few years back, but I definitely see these on the Japanese eBay markets and they sell for really great prices. It's very timeless. Of course, these bags are from like the 60s and 70s. They have aged, but I think it's a beautiful age considering that we'll see this style revamped in new iterations. It speaks to its timelessness, and I think it's relevant for this brand. So we're going to talk about the Michael Kors era. This is called, correct my pronunciation, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Is it the boogie bag or bougie bag? I'm going to include the name on the screen here. But it was launched in 2002. This was a Michael Kors era creation. When you think about early 2000s era bags to more so mid 2000s, we're kind of going away from that Y2K. Think about the Balenciaga, the city style like moto bags. Think about the Chloe Paddington. This to me feels like a little bit more of a streamlined version of that, like a Celine version of that style of bag that was trending. It still feels very refined but also sporty at the same time. These kind of like medium, wear on the crook of your arm with really defined hardware details were very much the vibe during that era. When we got into the mid 2000s, it was about how the hardware, or how the zippers, the accented details of the bags, like the Fendi Spy bag with that zip, it was kind of about that. So we just had more accented hardware or zippers, and just feels very much that era. We saw people like Madonna to Nikki Hilton wear this bag. To me, I wouldn't call this bag an eternal classic. I think it's a very appropriate bag for the time. I don't think I have my timeline straight on this bag. I believe this bag actually probably came out before the boogie bag, but I could be wrong. But I'm just including this bag, and I'm talking about the Ava bag. Now, I don't think this bag was actually named that, but this is certainly a bag that you can find iterations, be it like the late 90s, early 2000s era. So I'm gonna say that this is probably came before the boogie bag or bougie bag. I'm just gonna call it the Ava bag because that's what we know it as now. But this hobo crescent style shape bag was also a very popular bag during that era. It was used in the canvas but also leather, as well as denim variations, very like Y2K. And today you can pick up this bag. This is probably one of Celine's best priced. I use that with air quotations if you want to get into the brand. It's very much a relevant style now. There are these certain bags that come back in like waves. The hobo bag bag. It's like one of these styles that comes back. It's very popular now. Obviously, we've had celebrities like Kaya Gerber and Lisa from Blackpink really popularize the style. There's something just very cool, casual, even sporty chic about this bag. To me, the new iteration really captures the Michael Kors era, and of course, you can get it with a Triomphe print, which is a print the brand has done for a very long time. Now let's talk about the Phoebe Philo era. I've done a whole video on her tenure at Celine. I'll also include that video in the description box below, but I think the name says it all. Despite later creative director changes, this is a bag that you can still purchase, and I think the name really does say it all. It's the classic bag. A lot of people call it the box bag. It's just very minimal, clean lines, super understated. I adore this bag. This is a bag Phoebe Philo would actually wear herself. We saw it as the opening look on her first runway collection. Just that whole collection just felt like such a mic drop moment. Spring summer 2010, and you just think about everything that had been going on for the past decade with fashion at all the other houses, like be it John Galliano at Dior, Marc Jacobs at Louis Vuitton, Nicolas Gasquet at Balenciaga. Then you have this woman bring out this extremely minimal collection. It just felt like such a mic drop moment. I think it's up there in terms of iconic minimalist bags of all time, and certainly one of Celine's most iconic best-selling bags. The next bag I want to talk about, and of course I feel like this is probably the bag that has had the most commercial success, it's the Celine Luggage bag. And this bag came out in 2010 as well, so it's like the tote with sort of these like winged sides. And this bag came out every season in a new color variation, new combination, new different materials, and of course there was the Phantom version with even wider wing sides. It was even larger. It was very recognizable, felt like a very tailored bag, if that makes sense. It was definitely a bag that so many celebrities wore. I remember when I first started watching YouTube, this was a bag I saw, and whenever I would watch unboxings or reviews of this bag, it was someone got like a promotion, or it was like a graduation bag. If they were starting a new job or something, it just felt like a very like modern working woman style bag. Another bag that comes to mind is the trapeze. It's kind of like a combination of the Celine classic with the clasp and this bag. And then the next Phoebe Philo era bag we're going to talk about is still a bag that I still see today, and it's the Celine belt bag. This bag came out spring 2015. I can see why it's been one of their steady best sellers. I used to live in the financial district of Toronto before I moved an hour outside of the city, and I feel like I saw this bag everywhere. I don't know, it was just this or the Phantom tote. This was a bag you could wear to work in like a very workhorse kind of way. Now I really had to think what would be the next bag that I would pick from the Phoebe Philo era, because guys, there's so many bags and I didn't really want to narrow it down to one. And honestly, I do want to do a video of underrated Phoebe Philo era Celine bags. Like I definitely want to do that video. The next bag I want to talk about, I think this is a bag that is also very popular because I think it was just a really great price point. I think it was a really nice entry-level bag. It's a bag that has been discontinued, and I'm talking about the Trio bag. And it was a smaller sort of bag. It had separate compartments, so it had that function. It has that minimal aesthetic to it. I remember so many people loving this bag. There are other bags that I could have talked about. Like the So Sangle is still a bag you can buy at Celine. So I want to give that bag a shout out, and like the other variations of the Phantom tote. But I really wanted to highlight this bag because I think it was definitely a really popular bag because it was super wearable. The next three bags, so we're getting into the final three here. We're going to talk about the Eddie Slimane era. I've also done a video on his era as well. And I feel like I've already talked about the Ava bag, so that's technically a reissue from him. Let's talk about three other bags. The first bag I want to highlight is the Celine 16 bag. So this was Eddie Slimane's first creation. Apparently on like the day of his arrival, he started working on this bag, and then for the next 6 months was editing it to achieve the final version of this bag. The number 16 actually comes from the address 16 Rue Vivienne, which is where the house is headquartered. This was a bag that we saw the first collection, and it has a very classic top handle shape to it. It's very understated, but also still has like a recognizable design to it. While Eddie Slimane Celine is very different from Phoebe Philo Celine handbag wise, like to me, this feels like the next chapter of the Luggage bag. But you can definitely see when you look at vintage Celine styles with the like curved in details that like lead into that vertical clasp. I've seen bags like this on the pre-love market. I feel like he's referencing that. It's like rounded, embellished bits here, but he's taking that and like making it his own. And the 16 bag you can find in a variety of variations. I think the top handle is just so stunning. The OG version, but of course there are different styles, tote variations, and bucket basket bag variations. They bring out this bag in a variety of different colors, materials, textures, exotics. So it's definitely one of their core bags. And honestly guys, I'm not gonna lie, every time I look at this bag, I was in store the other day, every time I try this bag on, I'm so tempted to get it. Obviously, it's a super expensive bag, so I'd have to save up for it, let's be real. But it's definitely a bag I am like super tempted to get. I definitely think it's one of these bags that's been on like a slow rise. Definitely was not a style that people were paying attention to when it came out in 2019. But I think now, due to like celebrities, of course Lisa from Blackpink, Kaya Gerber, Hailey Bieber, Jennifer Lawrence. When we see these celebrities wear these bags, we see it on social media, it kind of becomes more in the public sphere. It's definitely been on a very slow rise. While Eddie Slimane Celine didn't start off with a bang, I do think in the long run, the slow and steady rise has been good for the brand. It's not a bag that is overly hyped the day of its release, gets everywhere on Instagram, and then you forget about it the next day. It's kind of something that has slowly developed an interest and a following. So the next bag I want to talk about, now we're in top 2. I knew what I wanted to put as my first bag, but I did not know what I wanted to put as number 2. I'm putting this bag here. I don't know if it's just I'm seeing it more on social media now, and it's been around for a few years now as well. I think it's just due to the season we're in, frankly, but I'm talking about, it's the Celine basket bag. I get why this bag is popular. I have the Loewe basket bag. Relative to the prices of other bags, like basket bags are actually like pretty affordable. So you can get like a summer, easy, carefree tote. Surprisingly, like my Loewe basket bag has been one of my most worn bags. I see why these basket bags are just carefree, easy, summer, go to the beach, go to the park, have a picnic. I see why these bags are bags people buy, even though it's like cheaper price point wise. I think it's a very expensive bag, if we're being honest, for like a basket bag. I think it's because it's still very much under $1,000. It's popular, I suppose, but I do think Celine has introduced some other interesting basket style bags. I think this is just very much that classic Parisian basket bag. It says like a summer tote. I get why I see it on social media more. Whether it being worth it is debatable, but yeah, you know what? I see the appeal. I totally get it. If you're in the market for it and you go to the beach a lot, I can definitely see why this is a popular bag. The final bag that I want to talk about, and it's actually a bag that did exist prior to its re-release, and I'm talking about the Celine Triomphe bag. Now this was a bag that was featured its first collection, spring summer 2019, but Michael Kors actually also had this style of bag, and of course this was a bag that was actually done by the founder Celine Vipiana herself, with the Triomphe logo, but it wasn't actually called the Triomphe logo. Back in the day it was actually called the Blason chain. Apparently the original story was Celine Vipiana was inspired by the train links at the Arc de Triomphe. It sort of has this like filigree detail to it. You would see the Triomphe motif used on a lot of chain detailing and a lot of vintage Celine handbags. You can buy this bag in a multiple of colorways, materials, exotics. It's definitely a bag they bring back every season. This is like Eddie Slimane's version of this classic box style of bag that like Celine is well known for. And definitely find vintage versions of this on the pre-love market. I've definitely been trying to find one, considering it's a bag that even the founder to Michael Kors even referenced. I think it's very emblematic of the brand. So that's my video. Did you guys have a favorite of the different Celine era handbags? What is your favorite? Again, I would love to do a video on the more underrated bags, so if that's something that you are interested, I would love to do that, because I think there's a lot of bags that don't get talked about and I would just love to talk about it. Anyways, so thank you so much for joining me in another video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.